Where were you born?
Yeah, so I'm a rapper from Salt Lake City, Utah. I've grown up there my whole life, West Valley City specifically. Very proud to be from there. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about, growing up in Salt Lake City, but I'm very proud to be from there. Like I said, there's a lot going on. I think we're one of the fastest growing cities in America, and like I said, very proud to be from there.
And still reside in Salt Lake today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, this area that you represent,
Yeah.
repeat that name one more time.
So Salt Lake City is, I guess you would say, the broad statement, but West Valley City specifically is where I grew up. So that's the west end of the city. So if you kind of divide the city, it's divided by the freeway. So the east end is kind of like the more well-off, end of the city, and then everything kind of west of that. There's like a running joke that people don't want to go to the west side of the city, but that's where I grew up. That was home to me. I grew up with my mother raised us, me and two little brothers. She did the best that she could with what she had, sometimes even living above her means just to, make sure that we were safe in maybe not the safest area. Sometimes I remember growing up, we would lie about where we lived so that we can get into different schools and things like that. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on out there that I think from the outside in people don't realize because, Salt Lake City has a sort of connotation as far as like maybe what people think the state is like. I think they might think we live with like pilgrims and like donkeys or something. I don't know what it looks like, but it's it's a diverse city. It's a lot going on, and sometimes in some of the lower end areas that can lead to a lot of stuff. So yeah.
Did that work in terms of lying to get to a certain school?
It did work, yeah. It did work. We if you have certain friends or certain people, they'll kind of let you get away with it, and as long as you stay out of trouble, for the most part, the schools won't dig too deep into your address and things like that. So I think we did what we had to do to make sure that we could be fine and get by.
So never got caught up with any of that stuff?
Never got caught up. No, luckily we were able to get away with it, but it did lead to me having to travel kind of farther distances, and unfortunately it also kind of creates this weird dichotomy as far as like building relationships, right? Because even though you're going to a better school and et cetera, because of the distance, you're not really living by the people that you're going to school with. So it kind of creates this weird situation where, and there's a lot to be said about the better schools, right? Because there's a lot of stuff going on in the better schools. But, as we all know, as far as like the school system goes, wherever the money is, as far as like the people that live in those areas, that's the money that gets invested into the schools. And so sometimes you get a little bit better education going to certain schools. So, yeah.
Now, what age range were you when you were living in that area? The West End, as you described.
My whole life, yeah. Yeah, my whole life, yeah. I've been there. I mean, moved around there as far as like different sections, different, apartments and things like that. Slowly, trying to grow out of that and things like that. But, that's where we grew up. That's where we had fond memories and made friends and played basketball and soccer growing up and, went on dates, and that's, it's great memories.
So you currently still reside in the West End?
Yeah. So I'm still there, and yeah.
Now, what do people get wrong about Salt Lake City? Is it something people say, but it's not true? And if it's the pilgrims and donkeys and that's the answer here, then that's fine as well. But if not, what would be the better response?
I think, how do I put this for you?
Take your time.
I I think from the outside looking in, it would be easy to boil it down to like a very bland place, right? Like a very vanilla, um, boring place, if that makes sense. And to me, like I said, there's a ton of diversity that I don't think people are really aware of. Um, it's actually, I think I mentioned this. It's actually literally one of the fastest growing cities in America. So you have people from all over America literally coming here because they see a lot of potential in this city. Our downtown is beautiful. Our areas are beautiful. Our nightlife is great. And but I think there's a misconception about that, and I think some of it has to do also with the fact that the Mormon stereotype and that thing, right? Um, but it's very flourishing. I think it's a great city.
Care to share your race,
Yeah,
ethnicity, nationality?
yeah. Spanish and black. Yeah, simple as that. But you know, I know a lot of people get caught up on it, but it's we try to keep it simple. Yeah.
And which do you get from your mother's side? Which do you get from your
My
father's
mom's
side?
Honduran. Yeah, my mom's Honduran. So, you know, I'm an extension of her story as well, right? She came to this country with under $20 in her pockets, you know what I mean? And to try to provide opportunity for her and her future family. So, um, you know, there's a lot of risk that goes into that. And I think that puts a lot of pressure on me, but it also makes me very proud to want to represent her and our family as best as possible.
And speaking of diversity, what races, ethnicities, nationalities do you see out there personally?
Uh, well, black. There's a lot of Hispanics out there. Of course, a lot of white people, but I think there's also a lot of like a Samoan and Tongan community that's very huge out there, Polynesian specifically. Um, a lot of like Vietnamese, a lot of Asian as well. Like I said, it's actually kind of a melting pot, but I think just a lot of people don't know about it.
Do you want to put any percentages on this diversity?
That's tough. That's tough, but it's growing. Like I said, it's just hard to say because it's just there's so much going on, but it's split. I think a lot more evenly than people would give it credit for.
What schools did you end up attending throughout your life?
Yeah. So I went to. So I mentioned going to Eisenhower Junior High.
Yes, aside from that one, what other
Right.
schools did you attend?
So Taylorsville High School. I also went to Hunter Junior High, and I went to Valley Crest Elementary. Um,
Time out, time out.
Go ahead.
I should have asked you to do it in chronological order.
Oh,
Sorry about
that's fine.
that. Yeah.
So yeah, so Valley Crest Elementary, Hunter Junior High, Eisenhower Junior High, Taylorsville High School. But in reality, I wasn't really supposed to like go to any of those schools, so that's kind of the irony of it. But um, like I said, my mom would go above and beyond to try to make sure that we were safe. I've had a cousin died of gun violence. Um, I've seen another cousin get jumped and struck with a bat, and he had to get stitches. I mean, you know what I mean. So it's just one of those things that she's seen a lot, we've seen a lot, and I think she did her best to try to just keep us as safe as possible, even though it was impossible, but as safe as possible, as far as she could. And that was one of her ways of trying to do that for us and make sure that we had the best education possible, something that she always instilled in us.
These were public or private schools?
They were public. They were public schools.
These family members, like your cousin that you just mentioned,
Yeah.
all on your mother's side?
Yeah, the mother and even I believe from my dad's side as well. Yeah, but yeah, it's just one of those things that when you hear about things like that or you see things like that, I can imagine her wanting to prevent you know those situations from happening, right?
Which one was which? Which one was the family member that passed away from gun violence? Was that
That's
mother?
from my mom's side. Yeah,
Okay.
100%. Yeah, he received about, I think it was 20, 30 rounds to, just to,
To the body.
yeah, to the body.
And then the cousin with the stitches again on your mother's side as well?
Yeah. Well, excuse me, sorry. That was so that was from my dad's, yeah.
Oh, that's from your dad's side. And these siblings that you mentioned earlier, same mother and father for all the siblings?
No, yeah. So we actually, I, they share a dad, and we just share the same mother, technically.
So you're the only seed of your mother and father?
Yeah. But I recently found out that I have some other siblings that I just haven't met, so I'm looking forward to that.
On your father's side?
Yeah, but yeah, with my brothers, I mean, it's one of those things that a lot of people, will call their siblings half brothers and things like that. But we just grew up together. I mean, it wasn't any different. Those are my brothers. I mean, we were a tight knit group. Those are my best friends. We looked out for each other. We look out for each other to this day, and we have a very close bond. So I'm really proud of that.
How far did you get with your education?
So I got an associate's in college, and I dropped out right before. I hate the word dropout, but I stopped going to school right before I got my bachelor's. Yeah, I was going for for oh my goodness, why am I stumbling this? It was for marketing and business administration. There we go.
Wait, so the associate's degree was in what?
So that was in marketing, and then the bachelor's was supposed to be for business administration.
And how far did you get before you stopped? Junior year, senior year?
I think it was my senior year. Yeah.
First semester, second semester?
I was like, I still had a couple to go. Yeah. So I was right there.
There may be a viewer watching this that says, so close to the end, why didn't you finish?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I
Or what was the ultimate reason for
Yeah.
stopping?
If I'm being frank with you, I love school. I think education is great. But when I look around, a lot of times the people that have been successful in business or in their fields aren't necessarily always. It isn't always because they got a degree per se. Not to say that if you get a degree, you're not gonna be successful, because obviously it helps in specific fields and things like that, right? Um, but but it was just one of those things that I think at one point I just, I just wasn't passionate about chasing it necessarily. I always figured I'd either be an entrepreneur of some sort. I hate that word because people overuse it, but I would find a way to invest my money and create something out of nothing, and and try to build something from the ground up, or I would make music. So here we are.
And what school was this?
So I actually went to Solid Community College at the beginning, and then I went to Weaver University.
These were public schools as well?
Yeah.